This Hawks-Timberwolves trade is focused on John Collins. The Minnesota Timberwolves are one of the worst teams in the NBA and at the bottom of the Western Conference this season. That was to be expected coming into the year, and there is no turnaround in sight. Minnesota has dealt with inconsistent play and some key names missing time. If they decide to pull the trigger on a deal at the NBA trade deadline, it would be interesting to see them go big. Karl Anthony Towns missed some time early on, but he is back on the floor in the rotation. When healthy, Towns is one of the best big men in the league because of his versatility. It would be interesting to see Minnesota get him a front-court mate. The Timberwolves used the first overall pick in the draft on Anthony Edwards, and he joined Malik Beasley and D'Angelo Russell as solid guard options. Minnesota could look down low a bit and try to get Karl Anthony Towns a front-court partner. One player to keep an eye out for is John Collins. The Atlanta Hawks offered Collins a contract extension worth $90 million in the offseason, but he turned it down. The two sides have not yet been able to come to terms, which makes it seem like Collins is interested in moving on from the Hawks. If this is the case and he will not sign, it would benefit Atlanta greatly if they can send him away for a return. Collins going to Minnesota to team up with Towns would be an interesting dynamic. Let's take a look at how this trade might go down at the deadline. Minnesota Timberwolves receive John Collins, Tony Snell. Atlanta Hawks receive Jarrett Culver, Josh Okogie, Juancho Hernangomez, 2023 first-round pick. Top 5 protected. John Collins is a player who continues to improve each year. He has taken his game to another level offensively and is a solid rebounder as well. Because of his current contract situation, Atlanta might not get a normal return, but they would still be able to land some pieces that would help moving forward. Jarrett Culver and Josh Okogie are those pieces. They are both young players who have high ceilings in the league and could turn into very productive players. The Hawks would also get a first-round pick in 2025, protected top 5. While it may not seem like a great haul for the Hawks, this would be a scenario to consider if they are convinced they will not retain John Collins in restricted free agency. Teams will be ready to give him a max, and they've been reluctant to offer that. Let's take a closer look and see how this deal would benefit both sides right away. Why this trade would benefit the Minnesota Timberwolves at this point. The Minnesota Timberwolves just needs to continue to add good players to their roster. That is exactly what they would be doing if they acquired John Collins. This deal will be completely contingent on if Collins was interested in signing long-term. If not, the deal will not make much sense for Minnesota considering they are not a win. Now, franchise. On paper, the fit is very intriguing and one that should excite fans. The lack of depth in the front court has been glaring this season in Minnesota. They lack depth all over the floor, but the front court really struggles when Towns is out of the lineup. John Collins would go a long way in improving the depth and giving them a next-level player. This move will open up the floor even more for players like Malik Beasley and D'Angelo Russell to go to work. It would also help Karl Anthony Towns because teams will not be able to double as much in the post. Again, it would be strange to see Minnesota decide to buy a bit at the deadline. If they feel they can sign Collins long, they go for it. Why this trade would benefit the Atlanta Hawks right away. The main benefit for the Atlanta Hawks is that John Collins did not sign an extension with them. This could have been a money issue, but Atlanta needs to figure it out right away. If he does not want before he can leave in free agency. We have seen the Hawks be aggressive recently. In the offseason, they added some veteran free agent names such as Rajon Rondo and Danilo Gallinari. They have swung and missed on many of their free agents, but could continue the aggressiveness at the NBA trade deadline.